So imagine you have this beautiful piece of music and you know how to play it. You know what the notes are, you know what the rhythm is, you know how fast it's supposed to go. But as soon as you start playing it, you realize your fingers are fumbling all over each other. You don't know which finger to use where or how best to approach the piece to be able to get the kind of speed and accuracy that you know the piece calls for. What do you do? That's what I'm going to talk about today in this video. So when I put up my most recent video on sight reading, I got this really interesting comment, really insightful comment from one of the viewers who stated, "My biggest problem is fingering. I know what the notes are and where I need to be, but my fingers are all in the wrong place and get tied in knots trying to get to the correct notes." Fingering is vitally important to playing pieces, especially more advanced pieces, more difficult pieces, pieces where you have to play very quickly, very fast, very vigorously. So I wanted to make this video to help you as a pianist play these difficult pieces without fumbling all over your fingers. And I'm going to use Sonata in C major by Mozart to demonstrate some of these principles. The first principle in using the right fingering, or the most helpful fingering, is something I call staging. This is simply the act of looking at a piece of music and figuring out where can I put my hand or where can I put my hands to make this next section of music as easy to play as possible. So in Sonata in C major, for example, we start with a C and then go to an E and a G in the right hand and then down to a B and then up a little bit like that in these first two measures. So how can I play that easily? Well, the music is helping me out here. And by the way, the sheet music will typically help you out by showing you where to put your fingers to best play a piece. But I notice if I take my one finger and I put it on C, as is the first note in the right hand, that allows me very easily to play the first two measures where I can just go, right? So 1, 3, 5, and then 1. And then I can play these really quick because I'm just right there, right? It wouldn't make sense for me to start with my 5 finger on C, and then I have to go over here or, jump with my 1 finger to there. So staging is really important. This also helps with the left hand where they're telling me to put my 5 finger on middle C and sort of have my fingers right here. And in that position, I can very easily go. And then you notice that in the third measure, it tells me to take my 3 finger up to an A. And so I kind of shift up there, and then I'm set to play the next part. So staging is really important. And again, a piece of music will oftentimes show you where to move your hands, where to put your hands to be able to play a certain section of music nice and smoothly. Another trick we use when we're playing music is to do what I call crossing over and going under. So what do I mean by that? In our piece of music here by Mozart, we have this section where there are all these scales in measure 5, where you kind of go up and down and up and down and up and down. Mozart loved scales. So in measure 5, if I start with my 1 finger on A right above that P, that piano, and I go up, if I don't bring my 1 finger underneath, if I keep going, I'm going to run out of fingers, right? And then at this point, it's very difficult. I gotta somehow cross over this way, which really doesn't kind of work with the piece. I can't get the kind of speed I need. So what do they recommend? In measure 5, they have me start on A, and then I walk up 2 notes and bring my 1 finger underneath. And I go there, and then now I'm in a new position. And I can keep going up and reach that top note and then come back down again. And so here now they tell me to use my 4 finger on the next note. So I cross over and I use my 4 finger here. And then that sets me up for the next few notes. And he has this pattern. He goes up in the next measure, measure 6, 1 finger underneath, all the way up, and then back down, cross over to 4. And when I do that, as I get used to that, it makes it a lot easier to kind of play through these sections. right? So this can take a little practice. Obviously, if you're doing this for the first time, it can be a little awkward. My recommendation when you're coming underneath with your one finger is try not to turn your whole wrist, sideways like this. Try to kind of be very subtle about it. Just go 1, 2, 3, and then just swing your thumb underneath without moving your wrist too much. And then just kind of do that, and then quickly pull the rest of the hand over. Same thing when you're coming down. When you come down and you cross over, you don't want to take your wrist and just turn it all like sideways like that, right? You want to go, keep your wrist sort of in one place and do it like that. Another principle we use in music is to just stretch our hand out. Sometimes we have a section of music where we have to maybe play arpeggios or play broken chords that are kind of really large or very expanded. A little further down in this song, we have in measure 19, this section right here, we have a lot of ups and downs with the right and the left hand. And so in this section, what I would want to do is I would want to kind of stretch my hands out to be able to play these sections. Now, I want to get ready sort of like spread out like this, and so you see when I spread my hands out, it kind of helps me to sort of get across the entire section of music. Now, for some people, this movement can be very difficult. So, for example, if you're trying to kind of go across like this, some people's hands are kind of a little too small for that, or like especially for younger students, it can be difficult to make that reach. What you do then is you sort of like start low and then kind of move your wrist across as you go. See that? Sort of move your hand across as you go up, and that can kind of help you out. Now, even as I'm doing this, I realize none of this is easy. Just because you know the fingering or you know how to stage correctly doesn't mean that the piece is just going to come automatically. It really does take a lot of repetition. This is why oftentimes piano teachers will tell you to work on your scales, work on going under, going over, because at first it can be sort of difficult. It can be sort of hard to do. But the more you do it, the more agile you get, the more capable you get of being able to kind of get the speed you need and get through a piece without fumbling all over your fingers.